Hey, good evening. This is Foreigner in the Philippines. Well, our title of this one, The Chicken and the Egg, the Expat and the Doctor. So what comes first, the chicken or the egg? What comes first? The expat and his, the legend of the expat, the legend of the foreigner in the Philippines as being rich. Well, comparatively speaking, just to deal with that quickly, the expat or the foreigner in the Philippines is actually rich compared to the Filipinos. And don't look now, but if you're in the Philippines, you're living with Filipinos and they believe that you are rich. So get over the fact that you're not rich or may not be rich, but are still treated as such. So chicken and the egg, which came first? The belief that expats, foreigners are rich, or the fact that doctors routinely overcharge when it comes to hospital stay and hospital treatment. Now, why am I saying this? Well, I'm saying this because I just had an experience today where we took a friend who I've mentioned before has been in the middle of a traffic accident in which he is being expected to pay a larger percentage by 5% than the parents of the child, or minor at least. I saw him today, looks about 12 or 13, and he was riding a motorcycle much too fast, couldn't stop, hit my friend, and my friend is now up in a responsibility situation where he has to pay a certain amount in order to put the thing behind him. Well, it begs the question as to why doctors, and I'm not sure that we're going to be able to answer that question, I doubt that we can, other than to say that the foreigner, especially the American, in this country is regarded as being rich. Now, what's the frame of reference that the average Filipino would have in declaring somebody rich? Do you work? Do you have to work? Can you live without working? No, you don't have to work. You're rich. Comparatively, you're rich. Now, when it comes to dealing with people who are in the upper class of education and ability, talents, then even they perceive that you are wealthy. So how does this come about as far as our dealings with the hospital today? Hospital, it separates into various aspects of the same case, because the person that we're talking about, the kid that we're talking about, has to have what's called an implant. So that either is a rod or a piece of metal, and it's special metal. I'm not quite sure. It might be titanium. I could be in for a terrible caning on that if it's not. But anyway, it's some kind of certainly highly treated, highly what can I say, highly polished, if you like, a stain which is not likely to cause an infection inside the human body when it's closed up. So the broken bones, at least in one particular leg, have to have this rod, and that is quite expensive. So my friend doesn't have that much cash that he can meet that, so he is there and he's arguing his case for a promissory note. Now, supposedly the ruling for any hospital is that they won't allow a patient to leave until the bill is paid. This is completely impractical and it cannot be enforced, because what will happen? The person will stay there and be cared for, and the bill will mount, the bill that wasn't payable in the first place, and therefore it's an impossible situation. It's a catch-22. You can't leave until you can pay the bill, and as long as you stay, the bill gets bigger. Obviously it can't work, so a deal has to be worked out. My friend then said, this is my deal. I will sign a promissory note saying that I am responsible for X amount of money, and I will agree to pay that in, let's say, he was at the suggesting point. I'll pay that in 3 payments over 3 months, or I'll pay it in 6 payments over 6 months. Well, the lady that was dealing with us, I was there while this negotiation was going on, and Beth was trying to help by doing her warrior princess and trying to smooth the way for a resolution to the problem. The problem being that my friend doesn't have enough money up front to be able to close the whole thing and walk away with a done deal. So he is arguing, and his argument is, I'm getting a little bit upset, and I've been waiting around an awful long time today. Nothing is being agreed. If you don't agree to my signing a promissory note, which I have agreed to do, which I will honour, I'm walking. And if you really upset me, the money that I was going to pay you in cash today, and he held up the wad of money, some 50,000 pesos like this, like a wad like this. Here's the 50,000, which I am willing to pay. But if you don't accept this as being the only way out, because I don't have any more than that, we're talking about a particular kind of Western logic now, I'm going to walk, because we're obviously wasting our time. Well, the lady behind the desk was unable to make this agreement, and she just kept saying, no, our policy is this. My friend said, I understand policy very well. Everybody has policy, every company, every hospital has a policy, but you have to be able to make judgments and make allowances for certain cases, and this is one. This is what I have. This amount is what I have. I promise to pay in a series of payments agreeable to both, based on a promissory note which I will sign, and we will get this done today. Well, it's split up into different payments. You've got the hospital fee, you've got the fee up front for buying this particular kind of piece of metal that goes into the body of the kid. It didn't work. Now, I have it on good authority from someone who worked in a hospital that as soon as a foreigner is on the scene, the bill can be doubled or tripled. So a bill that for the average Filipino will be, say, 50,000, it can rise to 100 or 150. Now, knowing that, the average foreigner will start to get a bit upset. Hold on a second, I'm not the rich foreigner that you perceive me to be, and I can't pay double and triple what the fee should be. Now, we had someone go around and quietly talk to other members of the staff about a particular doctor and ask what by the way was his average fee. And it was an awful lot less than what my friend was being charged. So, the chicken and the egg. What came first? The perception that the average American who is living here as an expat is rich, or the fact, and we're talking about the attitude that expats or foreigners have about the whole idea of, hell, you're not going to overcharge me. I'm not stupid. I'm not rich. I'm not going for it. That attitude, confrontational, which is totally outside the normal behavior traits of the average Filipino. So here you have what may be perceived as the rich arrogant, confrontational foreigner, and the doctor who is actually overcharging that rich, arrogant, confrontational expat. Now, how do I know this from my own experience? When I was working on my house a couple of years ago, I was working in metal stud, and during the course of drilling into metal, I got a couple of tiny little specks of metal into my eye. Went into the eyeball. Couldn't get it out, obviously. It didn't wash out, it didn't all of that. So we went into Taliban. This is very quickly. We went into Taliban. We went to an optometrist. We went in there, and he put me on his little eye scope and said, yes, you've got, I can see very clearly, you've got 2 or 3 very, very tiny particles of metal, and you're going to have those lifted out. So the next question, can you do it? And he spoke in his own language to Beth and said, look, I can do it, but he's a foreigner, and if he was a Filipino, I would do it. But a foreigner, if something unperceived happens, a foreigner acts differently to a Filipino. A Filipino will say, well, if it was an accident, there's nothing could be done about that. Okay, that's life, and would walk away probably smiling. But a foreigner wants to blame somebody. Somebody has to be responsible. So the dialogue would go, hold on a second, you're a professional. I entrust myself to you on the basis that you have been highly trained, and I am paying you highly, so therefore I expect you to do the job. And that's what the man said. He said, if anything goes wrong with your husband, he will be able, he's a rich American. Ding! He's a rich American, and he can take action against me, which I can ill afford. So it's not worth it. So he recommended where we should go. We went to Tagbilaran, paid 1,000 pesos, and a very skilled man in a proper health center took out the particles, and all was well. Paid the fee, and off we went. Evidently, he had a clinic which was well insured, and so on. Was not afraid of treating a foreigner. So, in the first man, you have the attitude by a professional as to what can happen if he treats a foreigner. And I've seen this on other expat sites where the expats have said, it's difficult for us to get treatment. And that's the reason. Because the average professional in almost any medical field is going to look at what the risk is, and then what the consequence of treating a foreigner will be. And maybe that's the basis of why a doctor will say double or triple the bill. Which came first? The way that a foreigner reacts, or the fact that foreigners tend, when it comes to medical practices, to be overcharged. Now when I go down to see Dr. C and I've got a cold or a cough, I don't go in there and he goes, oh, bing, 3 times the bill. He doesn't do that. And if I go to a normal hospital thing and I want an examination, I need I don't know, I need an x-ray, or I need the doctor to look at me and say, well, yeah, you've got a cold or you've got flu. We don't get treated by double the fee. That's not how it happens. But when it comes down to a big perceived expense, like an operation, which was in the case of this friend of mine today, the boy is going to have an operation. He's got multiple fractures, and it will involve surgery on both his legs, and I think, I'm not sure, but I think maybe his arm. So maybe the doctor is saying, hell, I don't want to take the chance. Or maybe he's just saying, hell, It's a rich American. What the heck? He's in my country. He's a rich American. Why should he be able to come over here and enjoy my services for a fraction of the cost that he would have if he was in his own country? So maybe that's it. The chicken or the egg. What came first? The American or the foreigner's attitude of being confrontational, or the fact that he is being overcharged, or the fact that the doctor perceives him as being wealthy and able to pay. That's kind of like those are the kind of dilemmas that you may be facing when you come here. Not just in what may happen with you, but what may happen as a result of an action that you may have taken, either involuntarily, accidentally, or deliberately. You will be responsible for your actions in a way that may not be applicable to life where you've come from, be it the UK, Australia, Germany, America. It's different here. But what you have to try to do, and I've tried many times to say this, is you have to focus on living rather than on dying. And getting injuries, getting sick, this is part of dying. And living is where you actually focus on helping, being helped, doing things, enjoying life, focusing on life and living. So, I hope that it's a huge subject, and I hope that this has helped in some way. Thanks for looking in. We'll actually, maybe before I go, I should say that what happened today was that my friend walked out and said, okay, we have nothing left to discuss. And he asked Beth whether Beth did it because she is the diplomat. He said, make it clear to them that if it really gets to a point of what I consider being silliness, the money that I was going to pay over today in cash, I will put towards an attorney, and I will fight the case. Because in this particular case, the boy was not insured, was not registered, and was speeding recklessly, and he was riding a motorcycle, and he was only like 13 years old or 14 years old. So the parents will be held responsible, and it will just be a mess. So I think he's already had a text saying, come back, all is forgiven, we'll sign the promissory note and all will be well. He's going to let it sit for a little while, and then we'll work out how he's going to get back up there to sign that note. So this is a foreigner in the Philippines. One of those things that is an endless discussion, because it depends on what happened today, or what may happen in your day tomorrow. Who knows the future? Thanks for looking in. Bye for now.